You already know what's going on, man. Attitude Era Podcast. First and foremost, shout out to the wrestling universe, Jack. We are here with a legend today, mastermind when it comes to wrestling and putting things together, Eric Bischoff. Honor to meet you. Honor to be here.
Good to be here.
To you.
You know what they mean by legend? That's a very nice way of saying old fucker.
My first question to you, one of the greatest moments in the history of wrestling, period, is obviously the New World Order. Mm-hmm. And you are the brains behind the operation. So I know a lot of people talked about the origin in that. My main question is that deciding moment when it was supposed to be Sting in the NWO and then wound up being Hulk Hogan. What was that like whole moment? Like Hulk Hogan walks out, first time ever turning heel. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, they've been doing promos before leading up to that pay-per-view.
It was intense because to be honest, none of us were sure that Hulk was actually going to go through with it.
Yeah.
Hulk was known and probably still is for changing his mind at the last minute, and until he actually walked down the aisle and stepped into the ring, I wasn't sure he was going to go through with it.
Yeah.
Which is why Sting was ready
to go.
He was in the background ready to go if Hulk changed his mind. So it was intense, it was exciting, and obviously once it was all over, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, amazing. Segueing into something else. 83 weeks in a row, WCW had the lead over WWF, and
we didn't just have the lead; we bitch slapped.
Yeah. Let's get to that.
It was different. I was stomping mud holes in them.
And also you are, you know what I mean, whether people give you your flowers or not, you doing what you did is kind of why we got the Attitude Era. So my main question is, in them 83 weeks, when was it, like, what do you say was any defining moment or the craziest thought or scenario you had back and forth with that Monday Night Wars? Like,
I think the first shot in the Monday Night Wars was really the very first episode of Monday Night Nitro from the Mall of America, Lex Luger coming out. You know, that shocked everybody. It shocked everybody in WWE because everybody thought he was still under contract.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming, and I think that surprise set the tone for what was going to happen. Certainly me giving away their finishes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was all fun, but it was really the first real shot in the Monday Night Wars and what became, you call it the Attitude Era. It was the Nitro era. That Attitude Era came along about a year after, NWO, when we were kicking their ass so badly the bitches had to come up with some way to compete.
Yeah.
And if it wouldn't have been for the NWO, there wouldn't have been an Attitude Era. There wouldn't have been a Monday Night Wars. There wouldn't have been none of that stuff. So it all started with that first episode of Monday Nitro from the Mall of America.
And speaking of leaking things out, what was your take when, because same way you've probably felt is the same way I felt watching it with the Mankind and The Rock, because that was probably the biggest leak that then turned over, I guess, to actually be.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that I started giving away WWE finishes and doing all. I started my show 3 minutes before them, gave away their finishes. I was the first one ever to do overruns. Going a few minutes later. I invented all that shit. Everybody else is just copying it now.
Yeah,
but the one time it didn't work so well is when I had Tony Schiavone say, Mick Foley's going to be wrestling, or Cactus Jack, whatever he was at the time. He's going to be wrestling The Rock, and here's what happens. And I kind of had Tony dump all over it, but instead of people going, oh, screw it, I'm not going to watch it, everybody went, oh, let's go watch that instead. And I kind of got my ass kicked for that one, but that was one. Tell my mom I'm not here. I should have said tell my wife. My mom knows better. But that one time it did kind of backfire. But hey, the other 999 times it worked. So,
last question for that. Then I got two more. I'm gonna let you go. What do you feel like was because everybody says it was the finger poke of doom, which kind of ended the WCW.
Now they're dipshits. They don't know what they're talking about.
But my question is more so
wrestling marks.
NWO. What do you feel like was the deciding moment that kind of made it stop working, or if you could go back, would you say at this point, we should stop doing this and go back to this?
That's a good question. Yeah, and I think we rode that horse too long. Dusty Rhodes told me one time that the art in creative booking, whatever you want to call it, was knowing, ride that horse until it's about to drop, but you got to know when that horse is dropping so you can jump on another horse.
Yeah.
And I think we rode that horse into the ground a little too long, made it too big, depended on it too much, and it wasn't any one thing. It was really a combination of a lot of things. But riding that NWO horse into the ground was probably the biggest mistake.
Okay. Now segueing, after that, you become general manager in the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You carry on the persona of being the heel, great entertainment. Talk about the feud with Stone Cold, because that's my favorite wrestler. So seeing you guys go at it, No Way Out, pay-per-view, you know what I mean? That was a hell of a time.
It was a great time. You know, having the privilege of working with Steve Austin, and it was just that, it was a privilege, because Steve was one of the greatest performers I've ever had a chance to work with. He had the ability to go out and improv, you know, at a time in WWE where everybody else was super scripted.
Yeah.
They didn't try to script Steve Austin because they knew he wasn't going to do what they wanted him to do anyway. He knew what to do. He knew when to do it. He didn't need a writer, and I respect writers, but Steve he was in charge of his own character. So that meant, for me, I didn't have to be scripted.
Yeah.
Because it didn't matter. If I looked at the script that they gave me and then I looked at the script they gave Steve Austin, I knew he was just going to throw his in the trash anyway, so why bother looking at mine?
Yeah.
All I had to do was go out and play off of Steve, and he was so good at it, it made it so easy for me.
Yeah.
And the chemistry was there, and it was just, you know, I wrestled him at No Way Out. It wasn't really a wrestling match. It was an ass-kicking exhibition, and I was privileged and to this day honored to have had that opportunity.
Okay, and my last question for you, also giving you your flowers at that time while you was the general manager, you invented the Royal Roulette, Elimination Chamber, list of probably other things that...
Well, actually, Triple H invented it. He
Okay.
actually invented the Elimination Chamber, I think.
Okay.
But I'll take credit for it all day long.
All right.
Hey, if somebody else wants to come up with an idea that works and I can get credit for it, I'm in.
And my last question to you though is, you know, I'm super heavy on social media, so weekly I'm tapped into the Eric Bischoff tweets about the current product and what's going on. So, you know, you were a part of WCW versus WWF in it. Now, you know, being an OG watching back, you see AEW, WWE. What are your thoughts on the current product with that rivalry there? And what do you, because I know you always give your criticism on what could be better.
Well, look, you know, hats off to AEW. You know, there's a whole wall full of action figures from AEW of talent up there. Mm-hmm. It's good for them. You know, it's great for talent. They're getting, first of all, they're able to pay their bills and feed their families and pay their mortgages and all that good stuff. So I'm happy for them for that. But I don't think you can compare the two products. I think AEW is a vanity project. I think it's booked accordingly. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
And I think it's very satisfying to a very small percentage of the overall audience. And for that percentage of the audience that loves that kind of presentation, great for them.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can really compare WWE to AEW in any way.
Got you. Well, I appreciate your time.
All right, brother.
Legendary Eric
Thank
Bischoff.
you, man. Appreciate you coming out.
Yeah. Got you.